The truth is, people want a drama. So, even though this is just to feed into what people pay attention to, it's to help. Because there's too many things to say at one time for me to just not say something. So, don't mind me if I sip my kombucha, whatever it's called. Doesn't matter. I want to say some things because today I saw my old, the guy who used to be the liaison. He retired, and he asked me how my job's going and how I like doing the new products and all this stuff. I don't want to say any names of products because I don't want to have any copyright stuff on here. I'm not against what I do for a living, and I'm not for what I do for a living. I'm not for what anybody does for a living because we've all been so trapped for so long. And it's like, I'm not just another one of these people saying overthrow the government, because I have nothing against the government. I have nothing against the people in the government. I have everything that there is to have wrong with people because I have had the experience of the oneness. And when I'm talking about that, I've experienced so many deaths, so many lives, so many things. It can't be put into words. And it's not just through my personal life experiences. It's through tapping into a place where who we really are and what we really are, the spirit inside us, and the people that are in control of the little tiny group of people that has control of most of the world doesn't have any clue how deep it goes, because no human being has yet. I'm not a human being, but I am a human being. Just like everyone who's watching this could say, oh, what a crazy person. He says he's not a human being. Well, you're a human being, but it's also words people made up. Just like you sit around watching TV all day while the same people that smile and put on, right in front of us on our TV screens, on our commercials and stuff like that, they're bad mouthing each other. And that's how they're going to win a campaign, by bad mouthing each other. We get a choice between two people who, I'm not trying to say anything big about anybody, but just about anybody I know personally could run the country better than the two people that we had to choose from. It's just truth. I mean, most elementary kids could run the country better. And when I say that, people be like, but what about this and what about that? What about this and what about that? We don't need anyone taking care of us anymore. When you become conscious, you learn how to take care of yourself. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to be scared of being sick. Stop watching the TV. If your TV wasn't on and you weren't all involved with everybody else, and it controls your mind. Okay, if you're sitting around watching TV, do you think it's so hard to explain what I'm trying to say because you've been doing this your whole life. So if you would take away the fact that you wasted most of your days, at the end of most days, watching TV for at least a short period of time, and your life became sitting and watching instead of going out and being part of it and partaking in the act of living. Instead of that, you are sitting on a couch watching the show, okay? And as you go on, your mind starts absorbing all that stuff. And you start thinking like the world is so whatever, from the history you learned about, from all this whatever, and the wars that are still in front of you. While the people that put those commercials out to try to be, oh, we're going to make this better for you, we're going to push healthcare, while we're also trying to push vaccines down your throat. So why is that? You know, the people that are all for them aren't looking at what's really happening, and they put on a smiley face because they themselves don't really know what's going on. Just because we have a president doesn't mean he knows what's going on. He's just a spokesman. He's just the speaker of the house. That's all he really is. Nothing bad about anybody. Like, I'm at the point where, even in a personal level, like, I would say the same thing to the president that I would say to a homeless bum, because nobody is better than anybody else. Like, I want to be able to tell the world, hey man, I smoke weed, but who cares? You know, it's not a big deal that people smoke weed, but at the same time, people hide it. People got to be like, you know, around some people around their parents, they can't do this, or they can't say that, or they can't wear these kind of clothes, or they can't do this because this is expected of them. Stop worrying about shit like that. If your own family members can't accept you for the way you are, you need to have it. If you want them in your life still, then have a talk with them about that and tell them why you want to be that way. Get a little bit, know yourself a little more. Why do you do the things you do? Just because you like them? Because some characters that you saw on TV? Let me tell you, everybody with tattoos and blue hair and pink hair and all that kind of stuff wouldn't have done that if they wouldn't have seen it on TV. They might be like, yeah, what would have inspired you to do it besides the things that you saw? Guaranteeing you that I'm right. It doesn't matter. Being right doesn't mean anything because no one does the right thing. And when someone does, they're a weirdo. And may I be the weirdo who, when I say, I'm not afraid of dying because I've died so many times, it's nothing to me anymore. My own kids don't want to spend time with me because I spent all my whole life doing what I'm supposed to do, working the jobs, getting the whatever. And because I wasn't with the moms, because they weren't the ones for me, and nobody should settle down. And long story short, at the same time, my mom and dad have been married for 50 years. I had my parents. Neither of them had their parents. And now my kids don't have their dad. And why is that? Why is that? Why do we have a crazy world where, I disagree with military. I disagree with law enforcement because of the way they do it. Okay? We're at a point where, yes, there are a lot of people who, if they didn't have someone telling them what to do or in control of them or the threat of getting in trouble, they would be animals. But how do we work on this really? Let's change the programming on our TV and say, hey, we're going to set up centers where people can get together and actually start learning how to be compassionate towards each other. Is that a weird thing to teach? I don't think so. Teaching people how to balance, they don't even teach you how to do anything with money. They teach you how to learn about your history, learn about what they say science and evolution is, learn about what they say religions are, learn about what they say everything is. And if people don't start getting this, our kids are going to look back and be like, why were our parents and grandparents so stupid? And they're going to look at everyone my age and say the same thing. I can't just go back to going to the bar and hanging out looking for some tang or doing whatever, joking around all the time. Like, I am a fun-loving guy and I do love life. But at the same time, if nobody takes me seriously, I could give a shit less if I live. And that's not one of those things where I'm suicidal. It's one of those things where I've actually had the experience where I'm one of the few out of the billions in history who can really help people. And I know this in my heart, in my soul. I would do anything for my exes who hate me. I would do anything for their families who hate me. But when I say that, it's not going to matter if I would do anything for them. Even in my job, I try to do everything I can. I'm literally one of those people who I'm like, what can I do to make this better? Can you walk through with me and say, hey, this is how you want it? So that way, if we just do that one time, from this point on, I can do it that way and it'll be good. If you help me this one time, because, we merged all this stuff together and there's nowhere for the products to go, blah, blah, blah. So when I asked the lady about it, instead of doing that, she gets mad about a mishap because somebody else called off and nobody said anything. And so I went in. I went in when I paid people to go in and do my merchandising, but one guy got sick and I didn't know until, last minute. So we had to change everything around. And even after working from 2 a.m. till 6 p.m., I go back until 9:30 and I'm back at the warehouse getting ready to go back in right now. It's like, I didn't sleep at all to do bread. I've worked jobs like this my whole life in order to try to be a good dad and see them on the weekend. And now that got taken away for such a long time. And their moms sort of contributed to it. I'm not saying they're the only ones who did it. I had a factor in the game, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I made mistakes when I was younger. I'm not making mistakes anymore. And when I try to say anything to any of them, they just look the other way. When you say, hey, I'm trying to, when I usually talk, I'll be like, what do you want me to do to put, I'm here to try to figure out how we can put this on. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, but what I'm trying to tell you is I'm here to fix it. That's why instead of telling me what was wrong, I know what was wrong. So tell me how you'd like it, and that's what I'll do. Instead, and then she goes off, tells me about the employee, how many employees she has, and this person calls off and she gets stuck with this. And instead of doing the right thing and actually working on the problem, like most people do this, they have a problem, they say something about it. And since they don't really want to fix it because they don't want to take the time to do it, because they don't really give a shit about their job, which I don't blame them, okay? It all makes sense, okay? And they don't want to have to do it, so they're going to complain about it. And then when you say, hey, well, let's fix it, they complain about something else. And then when you say, hey, I'm not trying to really hear about your job and want to fix this problem, and then she's like, you're pushing my every button. I'm like, I'm just being here to fix the problem, not to hear about your other things in life, And if I was to try to say that to somebody, it would make sense to them. And they're like, oh, that's just how people are. Well, it can't be that way. You can't just say no. And I don't want to call Walmart and complain about the lady because I have nothing against her. She's just doing her job and she's overburdened, so she's stressed out. I get it. I get people. I love them like that. But they could give a shit a bit less about me. So how am I supposed to act when I love everyone that much, deeply? Everyone watching this, everyone who won't watch this because they think I'm a nut. Whatever. That's great. It's great. I love them. And I really do. Not just some, not like, oh, love, but love. Like, would never harm, would do anything to help if they would just speak up and say. And I'm at the point where I have no reason to live if all I'm going to do is put bread on shelves and get bitched at about what I can't help when a bakery doesn't send it, or if just there's a mishap this time. It's been going for 5 years just about fine. There's been times where it gets wiped out because there's snow, or people just bum rush for some kind of party or things like that, and it happens. You know, bread. You know, some people are going to buy bread not at the same average rate all the time. It happens. Things happen and things run out. No big deal. So over these 5 years, haven't had hardly any problems. One or two, a couple times here and there, because of the same kind of things. People didn't show up to do the merchandising, and no one said anything, and blah blah blah. So we try to fix it. So instead of thinking about how 365 days a year for 5 years, you know, there's been like a handful of problems. Instead of like acknowledging that, it's the one thing that goes wrong, and you're like, you should worry more about doing your job better. And I'm like, do you understand how often I work? And sort of, how dare you to fucking say that to me is what I should say. But instead, I'm like, I work really hard. You have no idea. And people are like, oh, I have an idea. I'm here on, and like, no. There's a period of time where I spent 10 years living in a fucking car to work 3 jobs because I didn't have time to do anything but work a job. And on Sundays, I got to see my kids. And when I got to see them, I cried and poured my heart out to them because I missed them so much. And that was just, I was victim to this fucking game that we play. Enlightened or not, the words come out of my mouth because they are needed to be said. If I swear because it's from my heart. I love this world for what it is. I've seen it begin and I've seen it end. Many, many times. I've seen all the planets. I understand a lot more than most people would think a guy that looks like me understands. And I'm not shitting you. Somebody try me. I would talk to the president right now. I talk to any scientist, anybody. Quiz me, test me, ask me questions. Somebody. Because I'm at the point where I can't deal with having this information in me, being completely sane, and having people look at me like I'm a nut. And ignoring me. And just acting like, go back to work and put bread on shelves. Why aren't you doing that? Why don't you, you can't see your kids no matter what you do, and even if you try and text them, they don't talk to you? Well, I don't know what to tell you, too bad. Still, shut up and do what you're supposed to do. Like, we're not supposed to do this, guys. This isn't what we're supposed to do. And quit doing what people tell you. That's what you're supposed to do. Live your own life. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what taking your power back is. Start learning about the world. Don't read a book about history. Right now. So, either somebody tell me to shut the fuck up and tell me why they want me to, because if you really want to understand what spirit is and God is and everything like that, I can explain to you what happens to you when you die in detail, and I can explain to you a lot of things, but those don't matter if you don't take them seriously. If you take it for a joke, all you're going to do is harm yourself. So I'm here to truly help, and that's what I need to do, or I'm just going to leave as Dan, because Dan has no meaning other than that anymore. I don't have a Dan anymore. Dan is completely gone. I choose to play this role so that I can be part of the world that I'm trying to help. And when I try to help somebody, no one seems to give a shit. Does anybody care? If you do, please answer this video. Send me something. 814-651-1510. My heart is out. And right now I'm at the point where I don't love this country. I love every individual in this world, in this universe, everything. And we need to stop living like, oh, let's just send a bomber over with some little children holding a thing because they're not our race, they're not our country. But you know, we could just bomb that place, and all the people that can have their lives, their stories, all their things are just blown up and thrown away because some powerful men with some money don't care about other countries, and then they turn us against them. They're sending all our jobs to China. So what? So what? Do something else with your time besides work one of their jobs and be a freaking puppet. Think about it. Really, they're just turning you against other people by doing that. And you play right into it if you listen. And if you're listening to me, you're not playing anything but freeing yourself. I'm here to free you. You're not going to do anything that I do. I know that already. I know you're not going to fast for weeks. I know you're not going to stop having sex because you love people too much to treat them like an animal. Because you don't understand what true reality is, and that's okay because God loves you for it. I am God, and I'll say that. So are you. You just don't understand because you think you're your person. You got to go to work, and money's important, and the country I'm in, and the military, and come on, guys. Don't be blind anymore. Please wake up. Somebody. Anyway, that's all I had to say. From God to all the gods out there, somebody respond. Because I have a huge reason to live, but I need somebody to show me that they are interested in seeing this world be better. So until next time, peace. And that's just about as real as it's going to get. Well, it's going to keep going. But I don't want to sugarcoat it, because it's time to be honest with everybody. Everybody needs to wake up. It's time. It is time. Peace. I love you.